Welcome to the Law, Your Money, and You. I'm Roberta Saphire, an attorney in Massachusetts.
And I'm Camille Barron, a financial coordinator also in Massachusetts. And we have one of our most popular guests back today for probably second or third time. And the topic today is going to be very meaningful to people who maybe haven't been in the job market yet, or maybe they are out of the job market. And we're going to learn more about what they can do.
Yeah, what do you do when nobody wants to hire you, even though you're really good? So we welcome my husband of 1,000 years now.
Only 48.
48 years.
Drop in the bucket.
Well, it's a long time.
A bucket of eternity, I suppose.
I was going to say it's a pretty big bucket.
But anyway, he's really great on giving advice to people, whether they're young, old, medium. But Jerry, start right ahead. What do you tell somebody who can't get a job for maybe any reason? What's one of the things they do?
Consider going into business for yourself if you can't get a job.
Yeah,
really consider that.
That's how a lot of great companies have started.
Well, you know, this happens to be in this, I'll refer to it as this digital age that we're in. We've gone through a lot of different ages in society since the old BC days, like the days of enlightenment, the age of enlightenment, the age, the industrial age, and we're in a new age, the digital age. What is it? It's the age of communication, and things are happening with just signals going off, electronic impulses that cause things to be able to enable people to be heard, seen, and everything. And it's so much easier, I think, to get started in business today than it was in the old days, because in the old days you needed what they refer to today as a brick and mortar office. Mm-hmm. Brick and mortar costs a lot of money.
Right.
You mean in a building?
You need a place.
Be somewhere.
Yeah, your office has to be located someplace.
Yeah.
If you can't, and probably don't initially, own the building, it means you have to lease space. That costs money. Rent. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do that today. A lot of people today have made huge sums of money.
Huge,
right?
Huge.
But they have, like Elon Musk, who runs Tesla now, for example. He started off with PayPal, that credit company.
Yeah, over the internet.
Over the internet, over the web. Mm-hmm. The opportunities over the web. I wish I were more conversant with all of the new things today with the Facebooks and Twitters and all of that stuff. But it creates such opportunities today to go into business for yourself, because it's easier and easier today to get websites that don't cost what they used to cost back 20 years ago when, internet was more in its infancy.
Yeah.
Then it was costing big money to get a website, but that's all you need to be in business today.
Well, let me ask you this then. So let's say you have the digital presence. You have a website and you don't really have a brick and mortar place. And whatever your product or service is, how do you go about getting a clientele if you're starting from scratch and you don't really have a source already available to you, maybe followers from your previous job or referral sources? How do you start getting business?
Well, that's kind of like a core question that is applicable to any business at all. How do you get customers? And you start that brings into focus an aspect of business that's so important, so central to the success of any business. They call it marketing, public relations, advertising. Call it by different names. Some of them are the old-fashioned kind, which there was a time in my life back when I was in my late 20s in the publishing business. I started a little magazine called New England Teen Scene magazine. Its logo was a little Indian scouting around looking for looking for local talent. And that's what I wrote about. And how did I get some of my business? That was in the real old-fashioned times. After I got the stories and everything, got the book out and had something to show people. You need a product. You got to at least show some people what you do, so to have some credibility. Back in those days, I used to. I had a lot of customers in the Boylston Street area in Boston. I had the old Gilchrist. I don't know if you remember Gilchrist. I had one of them. Walker's Riding Apparel. Some of these companies. I was walking place to place. It's not.
But they do that today too. You knock door to
that's what
door. You don't necessarily have to be an expert in the internet or all. The old-fashioned way, you knock on
and the
doors.
old-fashioned way is still the most popular with politicians.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Kissing the babies and all the rest of it. But it's one aspect of doing it. It's still there. But there are other ways. There are other ways of you can do mailings. You can go to, I also did this. You used to have to go to the library to get some of these special lists that chronicle the types of customers that you might be after, like younger people. Your product might be marketed to young people in their teens or something. You might want older people. You might want senior citizens. Back in those days, you'd have to go to the library and look up and get the books were there.
Oh, I'm going to make a point, because the library, people don't realize the library subscribes to these lists that you would otherwise have to pay for.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's true.
And they also have because they belong to a big networking thing, and they also have, I think every library has meeting rooms, whether they're little or this, that you can reserve. And if it's a non-profit, it's no charge. They're all no charge. Some of them, as long as you're not selling anything, so to speak, you know, you tell them informational, informational out there, and you can get it that way. It's like starting a business with little money. You know, you don't need a lot
so
of money.
what I
That's
used to
he's
do is I
talking
used
about.
to ferret out some of the clients that I was looking to try to get to sell ads in the magazine for. And you gotta, when you're in business for yourself, you have to take it upon yourself to drum up the business. Well, you can't at that point in your business, if you're just starting out, start advertising in what used to be, I'll refer to it as the more of the old-fashioned kind of advertising, like radio, TV, newspapers, magazines. They all cost money. You don't even have to do that today. Today, first of all, you can join different groupings of people, network. The key to anything is networking and widening the scope of your relationships so that more people get to know you. And then you can introduce at different points, you talk about what you do. You know, people are asking, what do you do for a living? I'm always fascinated by what people do for a living. That fascinates me. And you got to just get out there and hump it, so to speak. You can do the mailings. You can go around to different people and try to get yourself very visible, and talk about sometimes some of the things that you do. And sometimes when you have a product, you might even try to tell people, like sample it.
Samples.
And it may not be something that cost you a lot of money to have made, but it's working for you. The most important thing about all of that is, you might not think of this until you're in business, but I've always been mindful of it, and that is, when you get around and you're talking to people, they're kind of like sizing you up the way you're delivering your message to them. If you have to have a product that's competitive. The thing's got to work. It's got to be at least functional and do an okay job. It doesn't have to be the best product in the world, but it's got to be functional and be okay, a decent product. And it's got to be competitively priced. But if you have that, one of the biggest things you can get going for you when you come across in your whole demeanor and your whole presentation and all with people is, what kind of a person are you? If they like you, if you come across like a decent person who they get their impression of what a nice guy or a nice girl.
Yeah,
But to try to
I
help them.
want to put something. Remember Stuart Hirsch? He's coming back. He has strategic relationships. He goes around to different companies and he tells them how to get business. But we took away what you're saying. His message was care and show that you care, which is what you're saying. If people see that you care and you show that you care, and I remember, I got to tell this story. When I first met him, I say to people, I introduced him to the person I worked for and this and that, because I wasn't going to marry anybody unless these certain people approved of him. And I told them, I went with my head. And I said, my head says, okay, then they had. But they all said, he's a nice guy, and what you said, people will want to help. People will want to help him, and that's what you're saying too. If you show people you're a nice person, if you are a nice person, people will want to help you.
You know the way people like to jump onto the bandwagon of a winning something, whether it's a campaign or anything.
Yeah.
They want to be part of a winner.
Yep.
They like associating and being part of and having a role in people who are worthwhile helping. People that they feel that some integrity and character and they deserve some help. They like helping people, even to the point, as long as the product is good, and as long as the product price is competitive, they like helping people in that situation. And it's not uncommon for people to prefer to give some business to people that they feel are worth giving the business to, as long as the other things are in place. The product's got to be.
Yeah.
Even though the price is a little bit more.
Really.
Yeah.
What do you think about partnerships? I know we were talking earlier on the way here, different entities you could do, and I was saying, well, that's more in the accountant type of thing, but still, there are people who say, well, I'm going to go in partnership with so-and-so.
Well, sometimes that should be considered. If you have a partnership, for example, where the wife is working with the husband, that's a big plus right off the bat. I've got a partnership with this gal right to your right here.
No wonder you're so successful.
She attributes all my success to her, as a matter of fact. Life for me to be successful was easy. All I had to do was marry her, and that was it. I was a success. What did I bring to the table?
I'm talking about,
a few laughs maybe, but that doesn't hurt either.
No, we got a few emails about these people who are thinking of going to a partnership. There's certain caveats. Watch out, even if you're friends.
All right. Well, no, that's an excellent point, and I'm glad that you.
Like Camille and I worked out.
Yeah.
And we didn't even know we were working out, right? Yeah. Together. I mean, that's a good
If somebody is going into partnership, and unless it's the kind of partnership like the husband-wife type of thing, or some sibling type of thing with the families, and that can raise other problems. Yeah. But, the old saying, blood is thicker than water. That can help go a long way in terms of helping a situation, because your brother or sister or mother, or whatever happens.
And then it depends. The courts are filled with the brother of somebody keeping all the money, and
that happens. But the thing that you have to be careful about in a partnership, if somebody has decided, yes, it's everything fits, I need them and I want them to be my partner, because I've gone through at least a couple of partnerships, and I can tell you from experience, sometimes they don't work. They're not easy, and you can facilitate it maybe working if you spend a little time up front to try to lay out who does what. Because what happens with a partnership sometimes is you get people, your partner, a great person, really a nice person. I'm thinking of one I was partners in a store plaza with. We were partners, and in the end, it didn't work out. He had, people have different idiosyncrasies about their personalities, even though they're totally honest, trustworthy, but they got their own take on what their role is and what they should be doing, and expect you to do without having anything verbalized. So my suggestion is, if somebody goes into a partnership, they should take the time. If they can do it themselves, fine. It may be advisable to have an attorney to do it who can think of some of the nitty-gritties that they might not. But you've got to end up to have it have any chance of really working to last. It's got to end up where each of the partners knows what's going on in advance. They know what they can bring to the table. What they don't know exactly, maybe, is what their partner thinks they're bringing to the table.
It's interesting.
But doesn't really know for sure. If you lay it out, it doesn't have to be in a formalized type of thing that looks like neither one trusts the other and you're hiring two attorneys type of thing. It doesn't have to be that way. You can do it on your own, even if you can get a wide enough perspective to anticipate all the different situations that come up. But bottom line, it so much helps the arrangement if each partner knows what the other is expecting from them to do.
So it takes a lot of communication even before you ever come to an agreement in writing.
It really does, because here's what happens a lot of times. A lot of times what happens is the partnership fails because one of the partners has been thinking, for whatever their reasons are, that they are doing more and contributing more to make the partnership as productive as it is. And the other one is dragging his or her feet and not holding the load up that they should be doing. And what if
Sometimes
that,
one gets greedy too.
Well,
and it may not even be them. It may be somebody
and what
who works with
happens
them.
if the partner who is dragging their feet as far as the other partner is concerned, but doesn't know it, and would have gladly have done some of those things
Yeah, communication.
if they'd only known what it was that they expected to do? Because sometimes for example, let's say communicating and trying to drum up some business on the sale ends of things with getting some leads, calling back people. One of the things, by the way, I'd like to throw out is when it comes to following up things, leads or people that you're already in the works with, trying to put some kind of a sale or something together. Don't be shy if you don't hear from that person. Thinking, well, they never got back to me, so they're not interested. I got plenty of other people to call. It could very well be that that person never got the communication, or even if they got it, they never read it, or something like that.
There's a rule that we follow. What could I have done? In other words, taking responsibility. So, well, what could I have done? I could have emailed them again. I could have called them again. Especially today with the phones, all the calls are free.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm saying, don't be afraid to follow up. It's the squeaky wheel that gets oiled first. I'd never be shy about calling up people and say, hey, did you get that, Jerry from such and such or whatever? Did you get that communication, that letter I sent out a couple of days? I know you're always busy, but I just want to make sure you get it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes if you want to make sure that somebody gets it, you might have a better chance if you're trying. People do a lot with emails today. So much.
Yeah, he has a thing. He always adds at the end, please let me know that you have received this.
That's good.
Got it.
Yeah.
So I know you got it.
Yeah, so that I know you got it. Not that you have to answer me right away, and that's a good
If
one.
I don't care whether they get back to me, and I don't bother adding it. But if it's a critical thing, and I want to make sure that they do get it, then I ask them to acknowledge it. It's another connection. They've said, got it. Now they know that I know that they got it.
Yeah.
That brings the link a little bit more, maybe, that they maybe feel that they should have to at least get back to me. If it's a no, it's a no. You can't get yeses all the time. I'm happy to get no's as long as I get my yeses, and if you get enough no's, you get plenty of yeses.
Yeah.
So don't be shy, don't be scared about following up. Another thing is I think people appreciate the follow-up in the sense that, boy, this guy's okay. He's determined. I wonder if that means I'll be getting good service from him too.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's the
Yeah,
type
they
that
do it
follows
right
up
away.
and follows through on good service. And one of the things talking about good service
Good point.
is when you make a connection, when you make a sale with somebody and you got them as a customer, don't forget that they still are your customer, and don't throw them to the wolves like a lot of people do once they've got customers, always looking for the next customer and not appreciating the present customer that you got, that's who's been with you for years. Don't forget about them. It costs an awful lot of money to supplant that good customer.
Somebody was saying once, this ad, it's just for new customers only. Well, what
I've
about
seen
me?
ads
I'm an
like
old
that.
customer.
Yeah.
You say that all the
That
time. Why
happens
don't
a
they
lot.
give it to the
Yeah. In
why
fact,
not give it to
in
the
the
old
retail
customer?
end of things, the retail sector, you notice a lot of times if you go to a department store, they'll give you 15% off if you sign up for a new credit
Yeah,
card
yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Well, I've had this card for 2 years. Shouldn't I be given
Yeah.
preference for the 15% off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they don't do
I think
that.
if they were really good businessmen, they should at least think about that.
Right.
So that's the key, the good businessman, and that's what he's done so many years, in the business there.
Yeah, yeah.
So Sapphire, you've cared and showed that you cared, and that's why you're successful in business.
Right.
Well, it goes a long way. You know, Woody Allen, the great producer, playwright and stuff, was asked one time by some people, Woody, tell us, you're so successful, you made tons of money. How do you do it? Let us in. What's the secret? Can you tell us? And Woody looks at him and says,
Oh.
just show up.
Yeah, just show up. Yeah.
There's nothing to it. Just be
Yeah,
there.
They say
Something's
being there's half the battle or something.
Something's going to happen. That's all it takes. So all I'm saying, in business today, you got tremendous advantages with the digital world we live in.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay out the rents and expenses. You can do your advertising and marketing through over the web. You think of some
There's a
catchy
last
thing that might.
promise to you've got to be kidding, but tell them don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try, because everybody you have to. A failure isn't a failure. It's just another step in.
Well, yeah, you learn. The more you fail, the more you learn. That's that. As a matter of fact, that's what Trump was talking about with that North Korean guy. He's been failing and failing, but they're learning and learning and learning and learning. We got to worry someday about that missile. They've learned enough, and it hits us first.
Right.
So never be afraid of failure. Failure is just another added piece of the education.
Well,
that gets
another
you
thing,
through.
on You've Got to Be Kidding, because we're into You've Got to Be Kidding. This really went by fast, and that's
could
good.
that
And I
be?
know,
Isn't this a half hour?
and I know you've got a whole thing of. We have people that call us up all the time. My son's friends will ask him for advice, and you're surprised at the people who come and ask for advice. They're ageless, whether they're kids, whether they're grandchildren, or people that are retiring. People are always looking to do something. But I got a good, You've Got to Be Kidding. I took this course on taxes and all this stuff, and, because you got to keep up. And somebody says, well, what did you get out of that, out of 2 years? I said, well, what I got out of it was when you get to a fork in the road, take it.
Yes.
In other words, don't be afraid.
Right. Yeah.
Take it. Do something. Just don't examine over and over and over again. And I thought that was good. And I think that's what I have for You've Got to Be Kidding. Do you have any good You've Got to Be Kidding?
I could suggest one thing maybe.
Yeah.
Because one of your old school buddies told a little story about an
Oh,
idea
yeah.
that you had when you were
Eighth grade?
Eighth
yeah.
grade,
Yeah, it
talking
was
about
12 or 13.
ideas
Wasn't that
for
funny?
business
Yeah.
startups.
12 or 13 years old.
Yeah.
Isn't
Oh,
that
yeah.
funny?
The thing.
Maybe you could share that.
Oh,
with
yeah,
us.
tell it, because we said to him, You've got to be kidding.
Yeah. The moral of this story is, I'll tell you what happened, but just don't give up. Because I suppose I did in that case. This was an old chum of mine who we were. I remember I told the story. We were
grade.
walking. I was going to Boston Latin School at the time.
Yeah.
And we were walking up Wigglesworth. I love saying Wigglesworth. Wigglesworth's street, and he told me for
It's
the
a real
first time about
street.
the birds and the bees, and I couldn't believe it. I thought the whole thing was so ridiculous. And anyway, so
got
we
to be
became
kidding.
very. Should I tell him the story of how he happened to even be there?
No,
Just
just
a
tell
pen.
But
them
anyways,
about the
what
pen,
happened
'cause
was
we
I
don't
had
have
an
time.
idea, and I told it to my buddy Mel at the time. That's what his name was, Mel.
Yeah.
Is this guy on?
And I said, hey, what do you think of this idea? And I came up with the idea, and this was 60 odd years, 65 years ago. I came up with the idea, and I showed it to him. I said, you
look
see
at
this
us.
pen? I said,
Look
here's
at
my
us.
idea. I found
look
that
at him.
every time I'm writing so long on different things, I'm getting an abrasion on my finger.
Over here,
I think
Jerry,
what we
over
got.
here.
I think what we got to do. That is funny. There.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, we have an
I
audience
got
over there.
I
He
got a
keeps
great
looking at
idea. I said, what do you think of having like a rubber sleeve on this pen? And when I hold it, I'll be my finger will be up against the rubber sleeve instead of what creates an abrasion from that other surface of the pen. It just like goes right over the thing. And I was greeted with laughter and ridicule. They thought it was totally ridiculous. But he said around 20 years later, Mel, remember? He said
Yeah.
about 20, 25 years. What came out, I guess Bic and a lot of those,
With
this
your
would have been like
idea.
about 45 years ago, 40 years ago. They came out with my idea, the exact idea that I had with the sleeve and everything. And Mel never forgot that the old Saphire is the
told
one
the
that
story.
came out with that idea
old
20 or
Saphire.
25 years earlier. So I was redeemed.
So you don't give up.
So
because
that's
if
the whole
people
idea
make
of the
fun.
thing.
What a
If you
good
got an
rap.
idea, don't be dependent upon yourself, and don't just go and ever be guided by what other people have to say about you. You
That's great.
So,
empower yourself.
That's why just tell us it can't be done. We'll do it.
That's right.
Go.
Well, thank you
and
for
what a
reminding
nice
me
rap.
of
Yeah,
that.
that was
I hadn't
good.
heard about that
Thank
until
you.
Mel mentioned
That's
the other
right.
day for about
You
60
didn't even
years.
have to use it. You got to be kidding bag.
No, because we have enough real life stories that we don't need to look for these
There
anymore.
it is. See? People think I forgot it. I didn't forget it. It's right
So
here.
anyway, we want to thank you, Jerry, for being here and sharing some of your
Yes,
experience
thank
and
you.
wisdom.
Yeah.
And we want to ask our viewers to please let us know if you have any questions or ideas, whether it be about this topic or any other future ideas, because a lot of our topics do come from our viewers' ideas. So please do let us hear from you, because remember, this is your show, The Law, Your Money,
And
you.